Hello everyone, welcome back. So in our Appium series, today we are going to see some more gestures which can help you to kind of automate your applications, whether it is Android or iOS. But today we are going to see how we can drag and drop by using the Appium 2.0, and also that is with respect to the w3c actions, the standardized way of doing all the gestures. Like we have already seen our different kind of gestures like swipe, scroll, long press. You can tap on any element. If you remember our previous sessions, we were using the pointer input and the sequence classes, right? By using that we used to perform that. Now I'll show you actually how exactly the drag and drop normally happens manually. So I'm using the WebDriver iOS sample application. You can see these are the draggable elements, and this is where actually we call it as a drop zone, or that is nothing but your destination. So like for an instance, let's say I want to drag this one to solve this puzzle, so I can do like this. The same thing if I want to just opt to here, I can do. You can see that is not matching, so it just cancel that, and this is here middle. Anything that is matching, so that's how the code is written inside that application. So for this particular input or for this particular element, it should only fit into this particular location. And if you want to avoid or kind of reset it, you can just simply click on this refresh loader, and then it resets back to the original position. The same thing, lot of different applications are there. For an instance, let me just go to the clock application here and click on add, and you can see here actually these are also draggable items. Like this is like you click on this, it's on 4, right? Let's say 10 o'clock you want to do. So what you are doing, you are simply dragging it. So this is actually your draggable element, and these are all drop zones. So like that also you can do. You can identify this clock and you can automate it. For this particular example, I will be taking this particular WebDriver IO application, and the one more thing is that the same kind of demo application is also available for iOS. You can give it a try, or we will see in our upcoming sessions. Okay, now we understood how manually we can do and what are the different approaches that the application really implemented actually. So if I want to automate it, these two things I need to identify: this particular element and then this element, so that I can drag and fit it to here. Now for this, now if you see that if I go to the swipe, for an instance, let's talk about the swipe, how we were doing. If I want to scroll down, then what I need to do, I need to swipe up, right? This is what we have seen. Scroll is always opposite to the swipe. Now if I'm doing, see, I'm putting my cursor here and I'm clicking it, left click, and then I'm dragging it towards the top. It means that I'm swiping up actually. So the same concept, your drag is also happening. You come here into this location, click means left click, and then you swipe it till this particular position. Now if you see that, if I compare to the implementation, if you go to this util method or util class where we have performed the swipe method, if you remember, it's basically the same thing. You can see that for the source we have written these 2 lines of code. For the destination we have written these 2 lines of code. The source takes the starting point, the x-axis and y-axis point or the coordinate, and for the destination it takes the end.x, end.y. So these are nothing but the coordinates on your particular screen. Exactly the same thing we will do, and we will implement the same swipe method only for the drag and drop. But if you see that for the scroll operation, we have calculated couple of things. If you remember the image that I have shown before, like for an instance, if I'm going here, we were finding the center position of the mobile screen. Then we were minus some calculations, I mean doing minus pixels so that we can get the bottom line. And from this middle option, we can add some pixels to make it as top position. From bottom to top, we were kind of scrolling. The same thing exactly. This is our source, this is our destination, right? So it means that let me identify these 2 particular elements. I have already identified. I'll do one thing. I'm creating under topics package drag and drop package, then Android drag and drop, and here I will be first writing some of the options to kind of launch my application. And this concept also we have already seen. So I will simply copy paste this, and these are my app package and app activity. Now what I'm going to do, I will take app factory, and this is what we have already discussed about the base package, right? And here I will say launch, which application you want to launch, Android, right? And here you are sending the option says the parameter. That's it. Now this will launch your application. For time being, I'm just putting some wait here so that the app will come to a stable position. And after that, I will be clicking on this drag button actually here, because it by default lands into this screen. So a simple way, I'll say app driver dot get driver. I have already checked in Appium inspector, and I'm clicking on that. That's it. Now again, I'm waiting for some time. It's not required, but for stability, I'm just keeping. Later we can use the explicit wait. Okay. Now the two things, the source and the destination, I need to identify, right? So not an issue. I have already inspected that. So I'm putting here. You can see drag L2 is nothing but this particular item, and then drop L2 is this particular location. So from here to here. Now this is my source and destination, right? Now I cannot simply pass this source and target into this particular swipe method actually. Here you can see I cannot get this the source and the targets point and send it. I'll tell you. So the problem is that whenever you are getting any source and any element, right, you are not sure that if the source is at the center of this element here and here, you are not sure. So always try to find it out the center of this element. How do you identify that for the center of that element? So for that, first you need to get the location of this particular element. Then you need to find it out the middle point of this particular element actually. See, today this element is here, but tomorrow it may be here, it may be here. You are not sure, right? You are simply identifying that. So first you try to identify the location. Let's say that the location is this point actually here. The X and Y coordinate, you can get it by using the get location. So I'll tell you that. So for that, I will be creating one public static. Let me make it as void. I'll create a drag and drop method actually here. And here I'm sending two elements. I'm just writing the utility method for this so that in your multiple test cases, if you want to perform the drag and drop, you don't need to write all this logic. We have already discussed why we are writing the utility methods always. Okay, so first thing is that I need to get the point, because my swipe method need the start point and the end point. Forget about the duration, I will tell you that later. Now start point, as I told, get the location and then center point of that element. So first thing, I need to get the location of that particular element. So for that point, and I will say that p source, some name I'm giving here, equal to, I'll take source dot get of location. You can see now this returns me the X and Y axis. You can see this returns the point. That's why I have taken the point. So X and Y axis of this particular element actually, not the center point. After that, I need to mark it as a center. It means that I need to, from this X and Y coordinate, I need to add the divided by 2. Like, how can I get the center of this element? Tell me first. So the first thing is that I will first plan the width and then divided by 2. The same thing, height divided by 2. That's how I will get the center. The same thing, we got the center location of the screen, right? If you remember scrolling time, we have taken the width by 2 and then height by 2, and that become my midpoint. Then we identified the source and destination by adding or subtracting the top and bottom pixels. So the same thing I'm doing here. Now for now, I'm keeping here, and after that I need to get the size. Now to get the size, what I'm going to do, I will say dimension and I will say size equal to, and I will say source dot get of size. Now if you see this source dot get size, what it returns? It returns the dimension. So from that dimension you can get the width and height actually. So that's how these things are determined. Now for this, actually, how do I get the center point now? P source dot x. For this, actually, we can do one thing. Actually, we can make it as location here. That's better convention, naming convention. And then here I will say location, because location is the location of that particular element. So I'm taking first the x-axis of that. Okay, and after that I will be adding what? The size actually. But what size actually there? For x-axis it is the width, right? So I will say get width here, get width divided by 2. So this gets me the x-axis of the center of this element. So first I got the location of this particular element, then I'm taking the width by 2. It means that I'm getting the center position, but the center could be here, could be here, could be here, right? I want exactly center. How do I get it? I will take the height by 2. So it means that now another way, location dot size, don't worry about this location dot y plus size. Okay, size is nothing but this size dimension dot get of height by 2. So that's how. Now if I take this my as x-axis and this one my as y-axis, then I get the center of the element. So if you are using a smaller screen, your element may not be exactly at the same location, right? So it is not a good practice to always get the an arbitrary x and y coordinate. Always dynamically fetch the location of element with respect to the screen, then add the midpoint. That's always the best option to do it. By using this location and size, I will be creating the exact location actually. So, or the start point. So for this, now I will take p source equal to, I will take a new point because this is a point, right? Now here I will be copy pasting this as my x-axis and this as my y-axis. Like that you will be doing. That's it. So you got it for the source. The same thing you need to get it for the destination. Now, do I need to write repeatedly? Not really. I will create one private method. I will say private static. Let's say that it returns a point and it returns the center of any element actually. So of any element, let me show you. Once I write it, you will get to know. So here instead of this, I will be returning. So it means that now for source and destination, I don't want to write two sets. Here what I can do, I can simply write point p source equal to get center of source. That's it. Now all these logics are written inside this. Now the same thing I will create, and this would be my p target. Okay, and here get source of get center of a target. That's it. Now this particular source and target, right, I can take it to my swipe gesture actually here, this swipe method. So let's call that now. So for this actually I will be calling swipe because it is within the same class only. And now you can see it accepts two different parameters, three actually, but let's talk about the first two. So the first is p source, second is that p target, and then it asks the duration. So duration is nothing but a simply like how faster you can simply drag it. Like for an instance, if I'm giving the duration as 1 millisecond, quickly it will go. If I'm giving 1 minute, so it will slowly go like this. So for your stability purpose. Now if you see that this duration from where we are taking, okay, we are taking from here, the scroll duration. Now this scroll duration is coming here, right? I can make it as global also, not an issue. So that every method you don't need to repeat the same thing. So you can simply put here. Now if you want to make, normally we will take it as a 500 milliseconds. So within half of a second, it goes to the destination. So now here, what I can do, I will simply take that global variable, that is the scroll duration. That's it. I think this should work actually. Now here, after we have identified, now your job is very simple. You simply call this util dot drag and drop, and your job is to send that to the source and target. You can see this is what actually we have kind of abstraction we have implemented, where all the implementation is here, and you are simply going into this particular calling that method only, because we are generalizing this, right? and here you can wait for some time so that you can see if it really dragged that particular item or not, and then you can simply quit it. Okay, let's run this Appium server. So I will just run this Appium command line, which is 2.0. so at this moment I'm using beta, but if you install the latest version, the 2.0 is officially released this week, so you need not to worry about that. But still the beta and the Appium 2.0 official version should work as usual without any change. Okay, and my simulator is also ready. Here you can see. I'll just come back, I will close this particular item and then run this particular test. It's a test ng test, right? So run as it is and open these two things side by side. Okay, it should click on the drag option and you can see that now it dragged so fastly here and it closed that application. Now I have taken only one element here. Maybe you can identify each of the component of that robot which we have seen, and you can keep passing those source target options as it is. Or maybe you can take source as list of items, destination as list of items, and in this drag and drop you can put it into a for loop, and then each of those index of that list you can keep posting it so that one by one it will do. You can try that as your exercise and let me know if that really works fine or not. Or you can have a page object, just a dummy page object. You can keep all these items and then also you can hide all these options so that you can just write 2 lines of code in this test, which will be even increasing your readability. Now by saying this, see, this is actually, there are a lot of different ways. It's not just you can have this particular w3c action by using what you call the pointer input and sequence, because this is what the series we were looking into. Almost most of the gestures we have seen by using these 2 particular classes, right? So that's why I have shown. But if you remember, in one of our sessions we have seen this particular plugin, actually Appium gestures plugin, and we all know that Appium 2.0 even supports to install external plugins, which are nothing but a utility, external utility methods which helps you to do your things faster. So you can see into the documentation, we have seen all these things, swipe, scrolling, all these things, scroll to an element. The same thing, they have a drag and drop. Now I will simply copy paste this particular method here, and I have already installed. Now if you don't know how to install, you can follow this particular documentation or you can watch my previous session. I have extensively discussed about how to use the plugins. Fine. Now for now what I'm going to do, I will comment all these things, the implementation which we have done. Now I will be taking the implementation from the Appium gestures plugin. Now it is also pretty straightforward, but you can see what are the small changes that you can do and you should be good with that. So first thing is that wait. Now I need to create a wait method. And I'm just giving, now this is actually to just make sure that this element is available. If not, then wait for some time. That's it. And then here actually expected conditions, they've generalized this, but I'm just writing this, and the same thing here also. So now you can see the source and destination I have identified, and here I need to give the correct element locator here. Okay, and after that I will be using their concept. Now this is driver, right? Now here one thing, if you remember, I cannot use as it is actually, so I need to cast it to a JavaScript executor because my driver is a Appium driver only. Now that's what I'm doing, JavaScript executor with my driver which I'm fetching from here, execute script gesture : drag and drop. This is map, actually I'm taking a immutable here because that's not supporting here. So immutable map of source ID. What is source ID? Source.get ID. So source is nothing but the draggable option actually. So I'm taking the ID. Now destination ID is the ID of the drop zone. That's it. Now you just need to perform these many things. So you identify that element, wait for that element and perform this one-liner code. But it won't work actually. If you remember, how did we run our Appium? We let me clear it. So we ran actually the Appium server like this. But if I want to use any kind of gesture plugins, right, or any plugin, I cannot use this as Appium. Instead of that, there is a command line. So if you see that the command line is this one, actually you can see use plugin gestures. So you have to come back here and let's go to this. Okay, so like this you need to run that. So let me run my Appium server here and then run this test. Now I'm not using my own implemented, rather I'm implementing the gesture plugin to do the drag and drop. And you can see that it also works as smoothly as possible. So I can put these two implementation also into a util method. If you see that we have already done the same concept only. So here I can write the same logic here, underscore gesture, and I can implement that concept here also. So I simply will drag this, Control X, and then put it here. Actually this is source and this is target. Actually I don't know why the get ID. Okay, so this is accepting the remote web element actually, so that's why that ID it is not giving. So you can simply do like this. Here we have done this, right? So you can simply do this, and instead of that you can put the source and the same thing here. Okay, based on that return types and all those things, you need to really identify all these things. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it actually, how you can really do the drag and drop. In our upcoming sessions, we will see how we can do the drag and drop for an iOS application also. So you can give it a try for any other applications or the demo applications you have. Let me know if that really don't work and we can discuss it later. So that's pretty much it for today. Hope this session is helpful. Do subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't. Thank you for watching.